It was a rainy evening in Chicago, the kind of rain that made the streets shimmer and feel like a movie set. I had just returned home from a long day at the publishing firm where I worked. My best friend, Amanda, was out of town visiting her grandparents in Texas, and I had agreed to stay at her place to feed her cat and water her plants. I had always been close to Amanda's family. Her younger brother, Ethan, was 5 years younger than us, 19, quiet, and incredibly polite. He was the kind of guy you'd barely notice at first but couldn't ignore once he started speaking. Intelligent, observant, and always a little too mature for his age. That night, I was in Amanda's living room, wrapped in a blanket, sipping on hot chocolate and watching a romantic thriller. The thunder outside clapped like the sky was trying to warn me of something. Just then, the front door opened and Ethan walked in, his hoodie soaked and his dark hair dripping wet. "Ethan?" I sat up, startled. "What are you doing here? I thought you were staying on campus this week." He looked at me with those piercing hazel eyes. "There was a gas leak in my dorm building. They asked us to evacuate. I didn't have anywhere else to go, so I thought maybe—" "Of course," I said, making space on the couch. "You're always welcome." He nodded, his jaw tight. There was something strange in his expression. Something unreadable. We spent the next few hours chatting and laughing, me mostly teasing him about his obsession with space documentaries and him calling me an old lady for knitting on weekends. It felt natural, comfortable, but underneath the laughter, I could feel it, an undercurrent of tension I couldn't explain. Later that night, after brushing my teeth and changing into Amanda's oversized sweatshirt, I was about to head into the guest room when I heard a soft knock on the door. It was Ethan. He stood there in silence for a moment. His hands were trembling slightly. I noticed he wasn't making eye contact. "What is it?" I asked, stepping forward, concerned. And then, in the most serious voice I'd ever heard him use, he said something that sent chills down my spine. "Can I ask you something real?" "Of course," I whispered. He looked up. "Have you ever felt like the person you're meant to be with is someone you're not supposed to love?" My breath caught. "What do you mean?" He took a deep breath. "I've had feelings for you for a while now. I know I'm Amanda's brother, and I know I'm younger, but I can't pretend anymore. I came here tonight not just because I was evacuated, but because I needed to know if I'm crazy for feeling this way." I was frozen. My heart raced in my chest. I wasn't expecting that. Not from him. Not tonight. "Ethan," I began, unsure of where to even begin. "I know I shouldn't have said that," he continued quickly. "You probably see me as a kid. And if you never want to talk to me again, I'll understand. I just couldn't keep it in anymore." I swallowed hard. The storm outside grew louder, mirroring the one now raging inside me. But the truth? I hadn't noticed it before, but over the past year, something about Ethan had changed. His presence lingered a little longer. His voice stayed in my head a little longer. And now, standing here, he wasn't Amanda's little brother anymore. He was a man, honest, vulnerable, and heartbreakingly real. I didn't know what to say, so I did the only thing that felt right. I reached out and touched his hand. "I'm not saying yes," I whispered, "but I'm not saying no either." His eyes widened, searching mine for clarity. "You caught me off guard," I said, smiling softly. "But maybe we could talk about this. Figure it out." We sat on the couch until 3 a.m., just talking about life, love, fear, and what-ifs. There was no kiss, no promises. Just truth. And in that truth, something beautiful was born. 3 weeks later, Amanda came back and sensed something was different. She asked questions. At first, I avoided them. But eventually, I told her. It was the hardest conversation of my life. She cried. She yelled. She called me a traitor. But then, a week later, she came back with puffy eyes and a trembling voice. "If it's real," she said, "I won't stand in the way." And with that, the doors opened. Ethan and I took it slow. We faced judgment, awkward glances, and moments of guilt. But with every challenge, we grew stronger. And on a chilly evening, 6 months later, Ethan handed me a small, folded note while we sat under the stars on the rooftop. I unfolded it. Inside was one line. I asked you something shocking that night. Will you now give me an answer? And just below that line was a small box with a ring inside. My heart stopped. I looked up, and there he was on one knee. The days following that night with Ethan felt like a whirlwind. I tried to go on with my usual routine, work, socializing, the occasional dinner with Amanda, but it wasn't the same. Every conversation, every glance, even every moment of silence between us seemed loaded with unspoken tension. Amanda's sudden return from Texas had thrown me off guard. She was excited to catch up, but I noticed a strange shift in her demeanor. She was more distant, quieter, as though she could sense something had changed, something I wasn't ready to face. And then there was Ethan. After confessing his feelings, he had pulled back, giving me space to process everything. But his presence lingered like a shadow, his eyes meeting mine in fleeting moments, as if to remind me that there was still something unfinished between us. It was a week after that night when I finally decided to confront the truth. I couldn't keep running from it. One evening, after dinner, I called Ethan over to Amanda's apartment. The rain outside had been relentless all day, and the world seemed to quiet down as we sat in the dim light of the living room. "I've been thinking a lot," I began, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "About what you said that night." Ethan sat across from me, his hands gripping the edge of the chair. His face was unreadable, but I could feel the anxiety rolling off him in waves. "I want to know," I continued, "what you're expecting from this? From me? From us?" He swallowed hard, his jaw clenched. "I'm not expecting anything. I just couldn't keep it inside anymore. I didn't think it would be easy, or that you'd say yes right away. But I had to tell you. I had to know if you felt something too." My heart raced. He was being vulnerable, honest. And that terrified me. But at the same time, I felt something stirring inside me. A connection, a pull that had always been there but had been buried beneath years of friendship and family ties. "I don't know if I can be with you, Ethan," I whispered, the words tasting bitter. "But I can't ignore what I feel either. I'm scared." He nodded, his eyes softening. "I get it. I'm not asking for everything right now. But I need you to know that if you ever change your mind, I'll be here." It was the gentlest thing he could have said. But the truth hung between us like a secret waiting to be uncovered. The following days were a blur. I couldn't stop thinking about Ethan, about how everything had changed, about how I felt drawn to him in ways I couldn't explain. But I had Amanda to think about. She was my best friend, my sister in every sense, and the idea of betraying her trust gnawed at my soul. But then the night came when everything shifted.